What's up, co-reporters, and welcome back to my channel. It's time for a recap of what went down on last week's episode of Teen Mom Next Chapter. Starting a bit late with a recap. It's my final week in Canada, or should I say weekend in Canada. And there's lots of birthdays in my family in August, lots of Virgos. So I've just been back to back with that. Per usual, I watch the show using Philo, which is an online streaming service that has over 70 different channels, including Lifetime, MTV, VH1, WeTV, etc. I've got an affiliate link in the description box of this video that you can use if you too would like to sign up for Philo. You get a free 7-day trial, okay, you guys? So I gotta say, Macy and Catelynn were working my nerves this episode with the ish disturbing that they were doing in Leah's life. These two women know that Amber is a deadbeat mom, okay? Like they know it. They know that she's violent. They know all of the terrible things about her, yet they keep on pushing her onto her daughter. And I find it to be ridiculous because I know that them as mothers, they would not want someone like Amber being pushed on their children. If, you know, for example, when Ryan was at the peak of all of his issues, when Macy had the restraining order against him and everything, if Ryan's friend kept trying to push, behind Macy's back to get Ryan and Bentley together and stuff like that, she would be seeing red. Same with Catelynn if she wasn't with Tyler and he was doing like all sorts of stuff. Like it was really, really, really toxic behavior, but I digress. So she kicks off the episode talking to Taylor about how Amber and Leah are not really like all that in touch, and Leah wants Christina to adopt her. And Taylor very correctly tells her, listen, like, think of what Leah's going through, right? Like what Leah's going through here is more important than Amber's feelings. And so we flip over to Catelynn having the same conversation with Tyler, and Tyler, like Taylor, has a brain in his head, and he's telling Catelynn the same thing. What Leah wanting Christina to adopt her has nothing to do with Catelynn and Macy. They need to stay out of it. It is not their place. And he also says the same thing, which was, think of where Leah is coming from and the pain that she's going through to even make such a request. And you would think that these two girls would finally drop it and move on with their lives. But no, we spend the entire episode just continuing to hammer this on. So the two of them actually decide to fly over to Indiana to celebrate Amber's birthday. And then they make a plan to confront Gary about the adoption news. Just, but whatever. Now let's head on down to Florida, okay, you guys? Our Florida girl, Briana, decides to stir up some mess in her family by hosting a beach photo shoot with her mom and sister, who she knows are not on speaking terms, plus her kids. Listen, like, I feel like when you're not on speaking terms with someone, like one of the worst ideas you could do is to plan a photo shoot, right? For all of these people, because in photos, you feel the vibes, the happiness, the this, the that, like you're supposed to be like in this like good space. But she wants to have like a photo shoot with tension. They're not even like gonna have a brunch first, a lunch, dinner the night before. Like, no, she just wants to throw them into this situation. And I'm like, there she goes, being messy again. And she loves to like do these sorts of things and then play innocent and dumb. So now, Macy and Catelynn finally arrive in Indiana, and they decide to go ahead and confront Gary about the adoption situation that has quite literally nothing to do with the two of them. Like the nerve and audacity that you have to have as mothers to go and advocate for a deadbeat and a violent, ninja to have contact with a daughter who doesn't want to have contact with her. Like it affects you all the way in Tennessee, Macy, like it affects you all the way there in Michigan, Catelynn. I'm sorry, but these two girls need to be worried about taxes and skincare. Like what Leah's got going on, like it should be the last of their like worries. It was just so aggravating watching them try to like tell Gary how he should handle the situation when he's the one who's been punched in the ear by her, when he's the one who almost got kicked down the stairs by Amber, and he knows the way that Amber acted at Leah's birthday party. And the way she insulted Leah at her own birthday party, and how Amber's been ghosting Leah for all this time, right? Like, just wow. Anyway, Gary tells them, listen, ladies, I'll have you know that Amber hasn't even seen Leah or been in contact with Leah in 7 months. And you would think that at this point they'd realize, like, we're going down the wrong road here, but no. They say, hey, what about we show up to your house? Let's celebrate Amber's birthday at your house. We'll bring Amber to Leah. Like, I feel like they mean well, but I don't even know if they mean well. I feel like they're just busybodies. Like, what are they? Like neighborhood watch or something? Like, can I ask you guys, do you think they mean well? Or are they just being messy, looking for a storyline or something like that? Because I don't know, to be honest with you. Because I feel like, again, especially with them being parents, they know that this is not the way to go about something so sensitive. And like you would think they would even ask questions about what happened 7 months ago, how Leah's birthday was and how traumatic that was for her. And here's the thing, I don't like that Gary even participated in this. I would have told them to shove that water bottle up their asses and leave me alone to deal with my own kid. You know what I mean? Like is he nice, or is he too just trying to get a storyline and make money? Because to me, there's no reason for Gary to continue to push this thing, especially on camera and whatnot. He's got his money, right? Like he's got his life, he's got his wife, he's got his other kid and everything like that. So why is he still subjecting Leah to all of this? In fact, all three of these people, I'm looking at them sideways right about now, because I don't think any of them are doing, the best that they can here when it comes to Leah, to be quite honest with you. It feels like it's all about the cameras at this point, and that makes me very, very disappointed on Leah's behalf. Anyway, at this point, Catelynn then decides to bring up the adoption rumor, and she tells Gary that she doesn't want Amber to be the last one to find out about this, and she asks him if he's going to tell her. And Gary says, listen, Amber's not completely in the dark about all of this. She's got her suspicions. And Kate's like, okay, well, suspicions, or does she know? Because those are two completely different things, which I do, side with her on that. Like, don't play these like, flowery word games with me. Be direct, be honest, in my David Beckham voice. And yeah, anyway, I can't. Anyway, she then sits down with Macy alone after Gary heads out and agrees to have them come over to his place for a barbecue to celebrate Amber's birthday. And then she's like, okay, well, he said that Amber's somewhat aware of it, so I guess we can bring it up. And then finally, Macy decides to, kind of say, you know what, like, why don't we just like ease up on this and let Amber bring it up on her own? Because all of this is going to bring more harm than good. Because again, how crazy do you have to be? Like this, like, I don't think we're appreciating how bat-ish crazy you have to be to drag a deadbeat to her child, a strange child's house, right, to celebrate her birthday with a new boyfriend that she ditched her child for, when she has a history of ditching her child for boyfriends. And then when everyone's over there eating at the table, you're going to go, oh, so how is it true you want to be like adopted out by like, your stepmom instead of your mom? Like, like, why would you bring that up? Just so weird. It really makes no sense. The thing that Catelynn was pitching there, very crazy stuff. Now it's wild, you guys. We get to Amber's house next up, and it was just so wild to see Amber talking about like being in a relationship with Gary for the past 7 months, because that's the same 7 months that it's been since she's been in real contact with her daughter. And we already know that every time she gets a new man, Leah falls by the wayside more than usual. And so here it is, just proving once again that everything that Gary and Leah and Christina have been saying is the truth. Honestly, I feel like Gary and Christina are too nice. Like, I don't even have my own kid, okay, you guys, but I don't play about like, and I'll give you an example. And I'm actually going to talk about this to my channel members later. I have to write this down so I don't forget. But I went to Tim Hortons with my nephew, and the lady who came to like give me it's kind of like a Dunkin' Donuts in Canada, by the way, you guys. And the lady who came he ordered like a flatbread for whatever reason there, but he ordered a flatbread. And the lady who came to give it to him came with such a weird, wild, nasty attitude. I snapped. I went like ham. I'm like, you're not about to talk to a 9-year-old like this. You know what I mean? And, and I'm saying all that to say, like, Gary, Christina, how are you letting Amber play in your child's face? How are you letting Macy and Catelynn play in your child's face? You know what I mean? Like, absolutely not. You guys need to be defending her, like, to the death, and, like, to stop exploiting this for a storyline. You know what I mean? So, anyway, when Macy and Catelynn get to the house and everything like that, like Gary just gets to yapping and yapping. Honestly, the more this guy talks, the more you go, okay, well, yeah, like you could definitely tell that something is off with him. And like Amber starts talking about how she's like the only one of her friends who's not married. And then he gets up, he's like, oh, speaking of that marriage, he proposes to her on a couch, which is just so apt, right? And here you have Macy and Catelynn just staring at each other like, is this really happening? Like, I'm sorry, but how weird is that? You've never met these girls before. You've been with Amber for like 7 months, which is okay, whatever, but you're just meeting her friends for the first time. And just out of nowhere, you plop down on that couch and you decide to propose to this woman. Like, very odd. And then after the proposal, he looks at the camera, he's like, y'all got that on camera? That's weird. What a weird thing to say. Anyway, and Amber, speaking of weird things to say, Amber's like, wow, like, I'm actually going to marry you. I'm actually going to say yes. I actually love you. She kept saying that like she's trying to convince herself. And I felt like that was another thing that was a little bit odd as well. Listen, guys, if you're able to find a clip of this online, you've got to see Macy and Catelyn's reactions because they were absolutely hilarious. They were like, it was crazy. It really, really was. Now, when Gary proposed to Amber, he told her that he didn't see himself with anyone else, which was a lie, right? Because we all know that he would later on, just weeks later, go on to ghost her, right? Wow. Now, let's get into Briana's photo shoot, right? Remember, she decided to have her sister and her mom and to do like some kind of a family photo shoot. Look at Brittany's face in this. When they are not really on speaking terms, they're going through so much drama and whatnot. And it was just as awkward as you could imagine it going, y'all. Woo, Lord. Anyway, back in Indiana, Macy and Catelynn are leaving the proposal thing. And then Catelynn decides to call Tyler and they just start laughing and making fun of and just like talking about that weird couchside proposal that they just witnessed. And Macy said something so funny. She's like, listen, I didn't even get a full look at this man's face before he got down on one knee and proposed to Amber. And that was just so hilarious. Honestly, these girls are messy, messy, messy. My goodness gracious. Now, they get to the restaurant, by the way, that they were going to go to have like a private trio dinner for Amber's birthday. And like they start talking about Amber's relationship with Leah, okay? And Amber tells the girls that she feels like she's bothering them anytime she tries to connect with Leah. But I gotta be honest, I don't really think she's really trying to connect with Leah because, again, we've seen this play out over the years. It's the same song and dance. It's never her fault. It's always everybody else's fault. Leah should be reaching out and setting up dates and times for her, like that sort of a deal, And so she claims that she tried to ask Leah to go on a shopping date. And Leah was like, oh, yes, like I'm available at first. And then she turned around and sent her for her schedule, to say that she's not so available anymore, which I thought was a little bit odd, a little bit suspicious. I got to be honest with you guys. Like, I don't really trust Amber's recollection of things ever. I feel like she's a tried and proven. She's always been exposed for lying. What I mean, you guys. So I can't, And then per usual, she's like, oh, well, Gary and Christina never set an actual date for us to meet up. Girl, if you were really like that girl and you're really serious, why don't you go to that courthouse and then you get a proper custody order in place so that there's like some kind of, and she should have done this years ago. I fear that now it's too late. But if she was serious, that's what she would have done, in my opinion. And she felt like this is not like being respected, whatever. You have to go get this in writing, get this legal, get this notarized, that these are your visitation rights. You know what I mean? Like, don't be so casual about missing out on your daughter's childhood. I don't know how she's able to do that. Like, it is just so weird to me. There's no way that Catelynn or Macy would do the same with their own kids. So it's crazy to me that they accept these kinds of excuses from her. You know what I mean? Now, I did notice, I don't know if you guys noticed this too, but when Macy was trying to encourage Amber about getting continuing her contact with Leah, trying, she's like, listen, like maybe right now she's just being a brat, but it's because like you're her mom. Like Bentley's the same with me. He doesn't like me calling him like this, that, and the other, but like, it's just, they pretend that they don't want you around or something like that, but like she totally wants you around, Amber. I was like, well, you don't need to call Leah bratty for like her reaction to her mom traumatizing her throughout her entire life. Like that feels like a really unfair thing to say. And I don't like that they keep on disregarding her boundaries in order to push Amber to continue to like, you know, encroach on her space and stuff like that. Like, I would be telling Amber, why don't you put them nunchucks away, that machete away, you get your life together, you stop dating here, there, everywhere, and you focus on healing. You focus on therapy. You go to school, you get an education, find something that like, you know, you're passionate about, have some kind of routine, and then like, you know, try reaching out, you know, maybe do like mommy and me therapy, stuff like that, you know, not just like force your way into her life when she doesn't want you around after all you did to her type of a thing, you know? Now, let me show you guys something, okay? Because remember how Briana had that really awkward, oh, I don't have the picture here. Let me pull it up. Remember how Briana had that really awkward photo shoot with like her mom, her sister, then her daughters and everything like that? So when we come back to Florida to see how our girl is doing, she's showing off one of the photos from that photo shoot. And I gotta say, one thing about Briana and her daughters is that they are crazy, crazy, crazy photogenic. I'm uploading the photo now. So like the picture of her that she had framed of her and her kids was just absolutely beautiful. Like, wow, it could not have been any better. So I just wanted to show that to you. Brittany did come over to her house and Roxanne as well. And B&B decided to go ahead and confront Roxanne about like her behavior lately. They're like, girl, you've been feeling negative. You've been feeling distant. Roxanne blames it on all the changes that she's going through and stuff. And listen, I get it. She's going through a lot, you guys. She's going through, she's been weaning off of methadone, which is something that she's been on for like 20 years, right? She's an empty nester. She's got lupus. She's still working, you know, and then she came to this photo shoot after work and everything like that. Like, she's adjusting from having to go through like some really hardcore like treatment, like inpatient treatment, like, and she just got out. Like, can you guys cut her a break, give her a little bit of time? Like, I don't think you come out of that like being as just like this, you know what I mean? And then she's on new medication as well. Now, it's time for Amber's birthday at Gary's house. And it was kind of like sad to see how like awkward or uncomfortable Leah was when she saw Amber arriving. She just like looked over, then went back to like putting stuff on her plate. Amber like came out of the car and the girl didn't even go towards her to say hello or anything. She just stayed with her plate in her hand and like she gave like a one-handed hug and stuff. Like, you could tell like she's done. She's been through a lot with that lady. And then Gary introduces himself. Listen, he seems like a nice guy, but the man, he's always just blabbering, just so awkwardly. I guess he's like a nervous rambler or something like that. But yeah, so I was like, oh my God, Gary, please, 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 like keep it cute, okay? You know, don't be too awkward. But listen, can anyone help that? Like, I feel like sometimes that happens to me too. You know, I used to have this thing where I'd have like one glass of wine. And if I'd be like nervous, because I used to do a lot of these like events when I was like in my blogging days. I used to be a fashion blogger. So I'd be at these events all the time. And like at first, when I first started going, I'd be so nervous. So I'd be like just sipping this wine, forgetting it's wine and not water, you know? So we all have our little nervous tics. So I can't be too hard on him for that. Anyway, there's this conversation that happens between Leah and Amber that like kind of tickled me in a sad way. It was a sad tickle, because it just goes to show how absent Amber is in Leah's life, right? So Amber's talking about Leah being 5'2". She's like, oh, like you're so little, like, you know, you're gonna keep growing, you're gonna be taller than me one day, sort of a thing. Leah says that she's done growing. Gary says, oh, you think you're done growing? And Amber says the same. She's like, oh no, like don't worry, you're gonna grow. Leah's like, no, I'm done growing. My doctor said I was done growing. And I'm like, Amber, you would know that if you were like present in her life, like, you know, if you as her mother were going to these doctor's appointments, if you were like, does she even have access to like, does she know anything about Leah's medical file? Like, I don't think she knows anything about this girl, you know? And so again, it just renewed the anger and irritation that I had for the messy duo coming all the way over here to try and force this relationship between someone who could not be any less interested in her daughter when the cameras are off, and a traumatized daughter, you know what I mean? Like, Amber, like, listen, Macy, I'm sure you know when Bentley is done growing, just like I'm sure you too, Catelynn, for your kids when they get to that age. Caitlynn's kids are younger because the first one was placed for adoption, right? Like, that's just something you know when you are present, and Amber just did not know. So that really truly stuck out to me, and it made me really sad for Leah, but also happy for Leah because she's got Christina is her real mom, right? And I actually have a question to ask you guys. Like, what does Leah call Amber? Does she just call her Amber or something like that? Does she call her auntie? Does she call her sis? Does she call her cousin? Because after this like conversation, she goes to Christina and she's like, "Mommy," like, and then she like just says something to her. I'm like, I have never seen Leah refer to Amber that way since like post Matt era. And every time I think about Amber's Matt era, it makes me so sad because that was her chance to turn this around and really show up to her for her daughter and be truly loved by her daughter, like in a happy, healthy way. Like their relationship would have been so different, you guys, if Amber like really, really paid attention to Leah's cries. Like, remember, like there was like this episode that I feel like I'll never forget because it was so sad to me. And I remember recapping it and just being so sad. Like, Leah, she was so tiny, and like Amber, like she saw her twice within the span of like 5 months or something like that when she started dating Matt. And then Leah was so desperate to have her in her life. Like they went to a restaurant, and Amber had to go to the washroom, and the washroom was like downstairs. And she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to the washroom. Like I have to go." And then Leah follows her. She's like, "I want to come with you." And Amber asks her, she's like, "Well, why do you want to come with me? I'm just going to the washroom. It'll be quick." And Leah goes, "Well, I don't see you that much. I don't know when I'm going to see you again. So I just want to be there." And I was like, oh. Again, I'm not even like a mom, you know? And that like breaks my heart. Like the way I would never leave that girl, like, you know what I mean? Like, and just for Amber to have shrugged that off and like not like realize that something was wrong. Like this girl needed her. Like she was not getting enough of her. Like, you know, like if she really truly paid attention to that, their relationship would be so different right now. And it just makes me sad to see that the Leah that really, really wanted her mom and was crying out for her mom so much, and just, you know, and the Leah that accepted that her mom is just never going to be the mom that she wants her to be, and who has found a new mom, right, to love her and just be there for her the way that this, you know, this one couldn't. Oof, God, very sad stuff. Anyway, it's time for the speech and at the dinner table for Amber's birthday dinner. And Amber keeps telling everyone at the table she loves them. Leah never says, "I love you too," or anything like that. Christina says, "We love you too." But Leah, you know, she kept it cute. She kept it mute. She said, "Oh, you can speak for yourself, Mom, but I'm just going to keep it quiet over here." Then Amber specifically, because she notices, I guess, that her daughter didn't say she loves her. She's like, "I love you, butthead. I do." And then Leah's like, you know, she just like nervously bites her lip. I was like, "Oh, girl," like, you know, it just makes me sad to see her put in such an uncomfortable situation, you know, by two people who like do not even live in this state, do not even like, you know, they're not even besties with the mom. Like they don't have her interest in heart. Like, I'm like, why did you do this to this girl? You know, they just keep opening up old wounds for her. Anyway, Catelynn and Macy then, you know, completely ignoring Leah's discomfort, they then like try to force Gary and Christina to make plans to have dinner with Leah and Amber again. They're like, "Oh, when are you guys going to see each other again?" And then Amber's non-committal is over. She's like, "You know, I'm always available, girl. You couldn't even show up to be there for your son either." Like, you know, and again, Catelynn and Macy know this, that Amber was a deadbeat to her son as well. And that's why, first of all, she lost custody and the kid was moved to California. At first, the judge said, "We're going to keep your son in Indiana. You have to visit him and that's it." Amber couldn't be bothered to do that. So it's with two kids. So what are you two doing, you know? So anyway, she's the whole, you know, "I'm always free." Girl, be quiet. Be quiet. And Gary's like, "Well, if we do something, you're going to have to show up on time," which is obviously like in reference to Amber showing up like, I think like an hour late or something like that to Leah's birthday party, right? And then like, yeah, again, the girls force it. And they said, "Okay, well, tomorrow, I guess." And it's like, God, like, anyway. Now, the episode then ends with Amber and Gary going back home to, you know, enjoy their new couch engagement. And I don't know why this thought just came into my head. I'm like, y'all, I wonder if they consummated it on the proposal couch. And then Leah talks about how she actually really liked Gary and everything like that. And then she says something that is just so funny and so true, especially knowing what we know now, right? She's like, "I like him, but we just got to see how long it lasts, though." Oh, not the mic drop moment, because now what happens? Gary ends up ghosting Amber Portwood. And apparently now he's engaged to a new girl. So Leah, you had a point there, you know? And now I kind of wonder, well, how has Amber kept up with trying to see Leah? The answer is probably she has not, right? So anyway, you guys, I just wanted to recap that episode for you again. Sorry, it took me a while. I'm really like trying to wrap up my life here in Canada for the time being and get ready to head back to my life in France and celebrate the birthdays. And I did the Childish Gambino concert in Toronto. I'm going to post those photos on my Instagram, actually. I have to go ahead and do that now. I got my Brace Report Instagram to share on. And voila, let me know what you thought about this. Per usual, I watched using Philo. I've got an affiliate link so that you too can get a free 7-day trial to stream Teen Mom Next Chapter or other reality shows that you enjoy, okay? Again, they've got over 70 different channels, 70,000 different shows, documentaries, whatever you're into, it is most likely there. Let me know how you felt about this episode in the comment section down below. Was I too harsh on Catelynn and Macy for their meddling, or were you also taken aback by it as well? Let me know, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.